Hi everybody, Ellie Kushner with this continuing series of conditioning exercises for homebound dancers. Today we're going to be talking about bridging. So bridging is important for several reasons. One is it activates your glutes and the whole back chain of your body, which you need in order to stand up and defy the pull of gravity. You need those muscles in order to jump, to go upstairs, to do any action where your leg is extended to the back. So we're talking about your hip extensors here. And if these muscles are weak, you can have a lot of fallout. And some of that might include injury in the foot and ankle, for example. If you're not able to support yourself from up above, that can trickle down and into your ankles. Or you can end up with a back injury because your back extensors are doing things that your hip extensors maybe ought to be doing. So it's important to keep these muscles conditioned, and it's especially important if you've been sitting a lot. When we sit, these muscles become a little bit deconditioned, stretched out, and activated. So these are important to look at not just during times when we're on break or we're homebound and we're sitting more, a little bit less active in our day-to-day lives, but also important for you if you're a student and you say sit all day in an academic class and then jump into that dance class. So again, this is a bridging series and we're going to do bridging 6 ways. Okay, so the most basic bridge will start in this hook lying position. And there are 2 variations on this, articulating and levering or neutral bridging. So the first is articulating bridge, where we move into a pelvic bowl, flattening our low back to the floor, curling our tailbone up, and progressing up into a pelvic lift. And then we roll back down. The common image is a string of pearls being placed on the ground, one at a time, sequencing through our backs. So to look at that again, we go into our pelvic bowl and we start to bridge up. Now this is about where dancers sometimes go wrong, and they get a little maxed out in terms of their hip mobility and start to arch up bridging this way. So you can see I haven't extended the front of my hips, and instead I've really hyperextended my back. So as we reach this quarter place, sort of maybe halfway up our bridge or a quarter of the way, we want to think about really allowing our ribs to fall down and really working our glutes and hamstrings, backs of the legs, pressing into the heels to lift ourselves up and try to extend and elongate the fronts of the hips. And then roll back down. Sometimes dancers get uncomfortable in their knees here. You might want to try pausing and stretching your quads for a moment and then going back into the bridge and see if it feels a little bit better. Another mistake that can happen is that people push into their head. Instead, you want to think as you bridge that your shins are trying to get over your feet. So as you bridge up, you can see that little shift forward in my knees and shins. So I'm trying to really step onto my foot in order to activate the back line of my legs. And then I'm going to lower back down. And I'll do that one more time. This is my articulating bridge where I go through a pelvic bowl. I lift my tailbone, my sacrum, bits of my lumbar spine one at a time, bits of my thoracic spine one at a time, sequencing up to the top, inhaling, and then rolling back down. Then my next bridge is neutral bridging. So articulating is great if you want to get mobility in your spine. Articulating has many benefits, but neutral bridging is very good for people who need to work on stabilizing the trunk while they activate their glutes. So in neutral bridging, I maintain the line from basically my shoulders to my tailbone. I'm trying not to change that shape and lift myself up in one piece and then lower myself in one piece. So you can almost imagine a spatula coming under your pelvis. You want to be able to activate your glutes and the backs of your legs without tipping your pelvis. So I'm squeezing the backs of my legs, but I haven't moved my lumbar spine. And then I use that power to thrust my knees forward and lift up. And as I come back down, I might have to think of diving my tailbone down because it's tempting to land on the lumbar spine, and I really want to land on my sacrum and pelvis. Let's do that one more time. So I activate my core three-dimensionally from all sides, stabilizing my spine. I activate my glutes, keeping that spinal stability. I press into my feet. I thrust my shins forward, maintaining neutral alignment. And now I'm going to come back down, learning how to disengage my glutes with control. Learning how to really manage and regulate that connection at the back of the legs. All right, so that's bridging, just basic bridging, articulating, and neutral.